Hello, it's Gareth and Shane back for another episode of the Building Business Resilience Show. This is a series from Sanctuary Financial Planning which helps growth business owners and social media influencers achieve financial independence. In today's episode, we're going to be talking to James Haskell, a former professional rugby player with 77 caps for England and toured with the British and Irish Lions in 2017 in the epic drawn series with the New Zealand All Blacks. James has now switched gears following retirement in 2019, moving into professional MMA with Bellator, and will make his heavyweight debut once we return to a state of normality. He's an accomplished DJ, public speaker, and a health and fitness author. He's written 3 books so far: Cooking for Fitness, Perfect Fit, and Intro to Becoming and Remaining Rugby Fit. He does have another book in the pipeline, which you'll hear about soon. James is also an accomplished YouTube and podcaster, notably as 1/3 of the successful Joe Rugby podcast and YouTube channel with Alex Payne and Mike Tyndall. He's a star of the 2019 I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. I could go on, but we only have an hour. It's an impressive CV so far, and I'm inclined to say he's only just getting started. So without much further ado, let's get started. Hi James, how's things?
Yeah, really good, thank you. This is my second Zoom of the day so far. I've had a couple of meetings. I built a sound recording studio out of a clothes horse for my wife to record part of an audio book, and she quite liked it. The thought she wouldn't come out of it. She obviously was trying to relive her childhood. She asked me if I wanted to come in there with her, but it looked very hot and very uncomfortable. But as I'm filming everything now for a vlog I'm doing on YouTube and Instagram called Locked Up, it's going to feature. So you'll have to wait a few days, but you'll end up seeing it. But apart from that, mate, just usual routine: wake up, big breakfast, shower, change, groom my ever-growing beard, wonder where the rest of my hair is going on my head, and then crack on with the day.
Yeah, I know. I took the decision to just cut it all off as soon as we got a week in. Got the last pair on Amazon.
It's interesting, you know, it's such a weird thing being in the public eye. Like, people just suggest if all it's time to give up, mate, shave your lid. I'm like, no. Honest to God, all my favorite, my favorite is people sort of do so much weird stuff online. I love people sort of criticize and you know, people say things about my wife, not in a bad way and I looked at it, and there's a bloke he came at my wife the other day, and he's got daughters. I'm just thinking, these people don't think, because you know full well if you said something to their child, they're like, "What do you mean talking to my daughter?" You're like, you've done that to a grown woman. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, your daughter's going to be grown. So I find it very funny when people tell me what to do. I'm not like Bobby Charlton yet. I mean, it's thinning, but it's not quite, you know, I'm not tucking it, you know, sort of starting behind my ears quite yet. So I, you know, but I just do. That's what people say. Come on, Ash, time to give up. It's like, fuck off, mind your own business.
Yeah, no, I know. It's kind of. I reckon though. I was saying I might grow it back actually when we come out, and I can actually have it cut properly.
I actually. Yours are right. Actually, where'd you get that?
No, it's not. It's not. If I turn around, my wife has done it, and there's been a few comments about it. You know, but
my wife, I've got a great Turkish barber that I've seen for the last kind of 5 years, and he does the full spectrum. Like, I took my old man there, because, you know, as you get older, you sort of, you know, looks like you've got a tarantula crawling out your ear, or a tarantula crawling out your nose. You've got beard hair, eyebrow hair, you know, all these kind of unacceptable things that certain men just do. You know, you just see old guy with like looks like he's got like antlers growing out of his eyebrows. So I see this Turkish guy called Alex. There's a chain of barbers in London called Jack the Clippers, and he's got one called Jack in the Box, and he goes in there, and it's basically like full beard trim, full lineup, ear hair, nasal wax, like wax your hair, eyebrows, waxes your ears, flames your ears, lid, done everything. There isn't a hair out of place. And I literally texted him the picture yesterday going, "Mate, what's happening?" And he's like, you look homeless. You look homeless. And I was like, yeah, because I refuse to let anyone else go and do it, because I think it's kind of, women have the monopoly on kind of that whole salon time. So go in there 4 hours later, a lot of chatting, a lot of cups of tea, you know, a lot of lid management, you know, all sort of done. But I found my version of that. It's an hour of just me time, a little Turkish coffee, full, everything's taken care of. You know, you don't have a hair out of place. You relax. They do a little massage at the end, face mask. You come out just always of brilliant. And that's what I miss. That's the first thing someone says to me, "What are you going to do?" Going straight for a coffee and a cake at a coffee shop, and then on the way to my barber's.
One of the questions I have near the end is going to be, what's next for James Haskell? I'm going to leave that to the end, because I can see this, you know, barber shop popping up everywhere, is it, with these type of places?
Yeah. I think that's going to be a
gentleman's groomer.
Mate, but honestly, John, I said to him, actually, I wanted to get funding for like a gentleman's club. So I'm lucky enough to be members like Soho House and everything else, but I wanted to have basically for like high level kind of sports people, people in the public eye or whatever, like exclusive membership club where you rolled in, unbelievable barbers, unbelievable coffee, cool sofas, music, great food, unbelievable Wi-Fi. And you basically went in as a bloke and you got groomed, coffee, massage, all that kind of stuff. Everything that you just want, good selection of aftershaves, all these kind of things, cool music playing, just a real thing, because you get certain bits of it, but you never quite get it. And it's always like they build a member's house, they put their haircut on as an afterthought. Yeah. But if you could go in and you had 4 unbelievable barbers, managing a lid, incredible coffee, relaxing sofas, just no noises anywhere. That's my dream, really. But unfortunately, I've got no funding, and I don't think members clubs are the first priority after this lockdown.
But does the world, or has the world changed? Because prior to all of the stuff that's happened recently, the concept of even going out for a walk, you only did that if you went or had a dog, and you basically went out begrudgingly, brought the dog out, and you came back. Now, where we are, because of my injury, I'm going out and you're hearing birds and stuff like that. So people's attitude, mentality has changed. And maybe the fact that they don't or haven't for many, many weeks had anything like that may mean now that something like that in the near future is now on a wish list for people, whereas 6 months ago it wasn't.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think what's very interesting about this whole period of time is just the human psychology of it, and just the awareness of it. You've got the extremes on one right who are blaming this all on 5G and are blaming this all on conspiracy theories and world control and the idea of getting rid of paper currency and one controlled market and reinventing the world. And that you've got those people who are bored and the conspiracy theorists. And then you've got kind of the other end of people who've never been off their phone, never exercised, and suddenly they've got to do the fucking Duke of Edinburgh Award. It's like why could I need to sail around the world. Like, well, I need to leave my house. Why? You've never left your house. Yeah. You've never done any exercise. I have to scale a mountain. I have to scale a mountain by 2:00 this afternoon. Who says I can't do that? And it's like this kind of madness that is going on. It's just so interesting. You take away people's freedoms. You take away stuff. People adapt, but unfortunately, we're very easy at forgetting and moving past it. So at the moment, NHS is the most important thing in the world, But it's been a political tool for such a long time. When ultimately, we're very lucky in this country to have it. It's an amazing service. It's never going to make any money. It's always going to be very difficult, And they're the real heroes. But I guarantee, 2 years down the line, that'll become off the agenda. We're very good at forgetting stuff. All this pollution. Absolutely. All the world landscapes are filtering down because of pollution. We're back off, potentially trying to do global warming. Mate, that'll get forgotten within a week. As soon as we're out, you already see people ignoring bits and pieces. Everyone thought this weekend Boris was going to go, actually, you can all go out now, which is never going to happen. It's just, I think it's very interesting that I think what for the good is that people hopefully have picked up better hygiene, better understanding the importance of the NHS. But because something silly like the number of stomach bug cases and everything else that went dramatically downhill because people started washing their hands more and being more considerate. I think, the kind of London spirit, the World War II London spirit of us all drinking tea in the underground has come back to the fore with the NHS. But I just hope that stuff, the lessons are learned and we actually carry on and we try to be a little bit better than we were before. And people, who do want to suddenly exercise because someone says they can't exercise, carry on. Because the world is an incredible place. We need to appreciate it, but we just get caught up in the grind. And then, because the media control everything we digest. If this isn't flavour of the month, like I remember before all this happened, the Caroline Flack situation, where that was very close to home, very close to my wife, more so to her and to my other friends. And there was a big argument for the anonymity that people have online, is just not echoed in the real world. And you should have laws that reflect online as in real world. You shouldn't be able to be, look, if you want to be super anonymous and you're up to that amount of deviant stuff, go on the dark web. But, most people, if you're concerned about watching porn, most people watch porn. If you're into that and you're paying it, you have to put your name and your credit card in anyway. So people know what you're doing. So there's no fear of that. There's just loads of things that I think could have changed. But because coronavirus came along, that's completely gone. And now everyone's living online and all the stuff is going online. I think that, those laws are something we have to look at because we've shown that people can work from home be trusted. We've shown that we don't necessarily need massive offices, that people can do Zoom conference calls and everything else within realistic time. But yes, we do like to socialise, because Zoom calls for business are fantastic. Zoom calls for socialising are just an absolute shambles of unadulterated. You can't get a word in edgeways. Everyone's, but what? Nah. Someone gets so drunk they like fall off. I mean, I saw some kid throwing up on himself. There was just pure madness out there. But I hope the agenda actually stays the same, and we take the positives out. We don't just get railroaded into other nonsense.
There's a lot of positives that will come out of this, that you have to look at all the nice things of it. People do look after their neighbours now. They do actually say hello when they're out walking. So there's a sense of community spirit that has started. People are noticing things more. I myself, you go out and you hear the birds singing now, whereas in the past, people were more concerned about having the best car, a Rolex. No matter what money you have now, there are certain things in life that you cannot buy. So money becomes kind of irrelevant at the moment. And the last thing, and it's probably through a friend of that you know as well, that we had interviewed a few weeks ago, Tristan Bevan, things such as people will and are starting to look after themselves. And as he said, you don't need to go out and go on some website and spend 4 or 5 times the price for a watt bike or weights. Do the simple things in life. Stop drinking so much coffee late at night. Drink more water. Make the food at home. Don't just buy it cooked. Go out for a walk, and all these simple things that will basically get people fit. And as he said, everyone should have been doing this a long time ago, but now there's also almost a recalibration of life, and people can go start doing it now. So there's positives to be taken from all of this as well.
I think you're right. I think firstly, people always need to take care of themselves, and I think that what scientific studies show, that if you've got more muscle mass, if you're in a healthy position, you're much more likely to fight off diseases and be able to do things. I think that yes, you're right. That kind of spirit of looking after people and talking to people is certainly there. I think people forget that exercise, you said, comes in different forms, and you're able just to go for a walk and to burn those calories. That being sedentary is not the way, and that actually all these kind of quick fire solutions that people are always looking for, these quick fads, you just don't need them. People being in charge of their own destiny in their own house, eating what they put in their body, I think is hugely important. And I hope that it does carry on. But it's certainly, obviously when we first heard of coronavirus, everyone was saying, oh, actually, look, it just targets the old people. But then you had young people with no underlying health issues who passed away, because obviously they're talking about different infection rates, the amount of virus load that somebody has. Being really effective, but actually more often not, if you're healthy and you're able to fight it off, in some form, then that's obviously great. And I think the other thing you said, which is really poignant, is people have said for ages, philosophers and authors and everything like that the only currency you actually have is your health, and that's the only thing that matters to anybody. And that all these rich people and all these kind of multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, stuff, like, it's all well and good, but if you don't have your life, what's the point of having all that money? And if you don't have your health, and I think that's really shown. Obviously having money's nice, and being able to do what you want to do, enjoy it, but that's the biggest commodity. And I think it's hard when I've been interviewed doing these things, because I always say I'm quite positive and I'm quite good, but people are out there losing their lives, losing loved ones, not able to see loved ones. I've had sort of horrific stories where they're not able to visit people in hospital. My PA's old dear's gone into hospital, she can't visit her, all this kind of, so it's very hard, these kind of situations. It's difficult to be really positive, but then humans are great. When it doesn't affect them, you don't give a shit. Like, you care, like, you come out, you clap for the NHS, you do everything, but if it doesn't directly affect you, it's easy for you to forget about it. But then you've got to remember there's people with just a completely different point of view of this situation. I just hope we come together and it doesn't become a political storm, and a way of kind of changing things. Because the next thing, once this finishes, it's all going to be about the economy. So that's going to take the headlines, 100%. And we'll forget about that, the hardship we're all going to go through, and the fact that, there is going to be another recession, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But, we have to wait and see, because there's nothing more unhealthy than conjecture and just guessing.
No.
Let's keep it lighthearted. Let's not do politics, and let's not worry about the future.
Fine. I literally don't worry about anything. This drives my wife mad, because of all the years of sport. I'm very much into compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
I never look too far ahead, never look behind. I don't care when lockdown ends. all I'm worried about is what I'm going to do once we've got off this call.
Exactly.
You know, it's the same with, but my wife is very much like, where are we going to go once this is done? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you where we're going to go, because where we think we're allowed to go, it ain't going to be where we're going to go. So just stop
100%.
worrying about stuff you can't control.
Yeah, I will say that controllable at the moment, isn't it? There's only certain things you can kind of, you know, and like so many people have speculated about what Boris is going to do, but I've just seen what Mark Drakeford's done in Wales, and he's basically said we can now go to garden centres. Well, that's no good to me. I got AstroTurf. You know, it's like, come on, like, you know. So it's kind of like I knew it was never going to be anything major, but
yeah, but everyone thought it was just going to go. Yeah, let's all go out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Go and see your 10 closest friends and family. It's not going to happen.
But it's just going to make it. It's just going to make it worse, because the thing is that it's you know, people are still going to get it. Like I haven't broken lockdown once, apart from to go to the supermarket. I know people who have, and I said to my wife, you know, I just don't see the point, because A, they're all catching it. B, you know, for some people, like the producer of our House of Rugby show, Si Clancy, in hospital for 4 days, literally said it's the most terrible thing he's ever had. And then my other mate got it and was like, didn't really bother. But you just don't know until you know. So I'd rather sit it out. I think we're all going to get it at some point, unless we get a vaccine before. But let's not throw ourselves in and really fuck the whole thing up without unnecessarily, because most people have everything they need at home. Laptop, phone, loved one.
Is part of your life, though, as in, one of the questions I was going to start with is, in a sporting life, you had the sports people say it was a structured life. So you were all, maybe not as much detail, but you were told what time to get up, where to be, what to train, and all that. And all of a sudden, then you're in the new world of, you're no longer in that world of sports person, and you're having to adapt or transition into a life of you can do whatever you want. What was it like in the sports bubble, and how did you find with the adaptation of the transition from sports person to probably a celebrity now?
I mean, I think it's very hard, and one of the biggest difficulties that people have transitioning out from a regimented life. You know, I had a structured life since the age of 8 to 18. I went to boarding school. I boarded. I was always told what to be, where to be. I had a timetable, operated off a timetable. Never really had weekends. Then I went into professional sport. Same. Never knew. Only could ever plan 1 week in advance, 2 weeks in advance. Actually, at Northampton Saints, it was the first time that I got a month calendar for the first time ever, that I could actually plan ahead and start doing stuff. So when I finished, one thing, my wife is very clever, much cleverer than I am, much more astute than I am, basically said, you're going to need a routine. You're going to need a reason. When you become self-employed, and because I didn't have any vocational skills, I didn't necessarily want to be, go and work in the city or whatever. She said you're going to need to have a reason to wake up in the morning. You need to stick to a routine. And it's the same that's applied in this outbreak, this pandemic, is making sure that you've got a routine. You wake up, you stay to it. So if you're getting up at 8, training at 8:30, going to work by whenever, stick to it. Same principle. I work very well on that. I work very well on, I use iCalendar all the time. I label everything in. I learned from my wife. She's constantly, because of her job and her different hats she wears and training and everything else, and meal time, she sets different alarms. So she give herself an hour to do this. The alarm goes, right, time to eat, do this, do that. And you don't have to necessarily be that extreme, but I think it's really important. And it's a massive surefire way of me staying with my mental health. Being able to have a routine. And not drift, not watch days. And I've actually found it hard. I had, in the entire time we've been locked down, I don't know how long it is now, I had one kind of bad day where I sat down, like I was here, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I going to do? My wife's got this, her regimented job. She's got a thing, I was going to do cage fighting. I'm a DJ, is my real passion. Performing, presenting and working and anything, and speaking and after the speaking is all what I do. Can't do any of that at the moment. The DJ stuff I can do. What am I going to do outside of lockdown? So then it was just sitting down with a list of going, right, this is what I do. This is what makes me money. This is how I want to do it. This is what I could be in charge of. And then fitting it into a structure of my day, and it's working well. We also, things like this morning, we front loaded everything this morning, so the afternoon we've got off, the sun is shining, got to go and sit out in the garden, do edit my book and go on from there.
It's an adaptation for you, like we talk to business owners, managers and stuff like that, and it's having to get them to adapt to the new world as well. Your new world was retirement, and you're adapting to it now. I don't know if this is right or wrong. I just found this last night. I was doing a bit of stuff on you, and it shows maybe a really forward thinking of you. This is money.co.uk ran something in last year, might be true, might be false, but it said you were saving into a pension since you were 19. Don't know true or false, but for somebody who is that young and trying to make a name for themselves in a brutal sport, to be that forward thinking of, when I get to 60 or whatever age, I'm going to have some more money. That's a strong mentality at that age to be forward thinking of, not just when I finish rugby, but years down the line as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was there when, unfortunately, Matt Hampson broke his neck. You know, those who know rugby, Matt Hampson was a young player. We were at England under-20s training at Northampton before a game against Scotland. We went in for scrum. He broke his neck. He's never walked again. He's still on a ventilator, but he's set up the Matt Hampson Foundation. He's got the Get Busy Living Centre up in Leicestershire countryside. You know, helps people with spinal units. He's raised millions of pounds for people, and he's lived an incredible life. But that kind of 19 flagged, or 18, I should say, kind of flagged up to me the importance of A, forward thinking, how B, you know, you've got no control over anything that can happen, and that you can live cautiously and fall down the stairs in your own house, or you know, or you can live recklessly and you know, live forever. You know, you could. I love these old, you know, you see these old people, 150, you know, 100 or 120, whatever the oldest one is. They go, "How do you live?" Well, you know, or "How do you stay married?" Well, I pretended I was short of hearing for the entire time, so I didn't listen to my wife. I smoked fucking 20 fags a day, and I drank a bottle of port a week. But then there's other people who are running marathons who have a heart attack at 45. So you know, there's obviously no game plan for any of that. So I think I've always lived my life to make sure that if I was hit by a bus or died today, I could say I had a really good go at it, and that I couldn't have done any more with whatever I had. And then with the pension and saving and investment stuff, I just think there's certain things you can put in place for a bit of security, while you don't have to look ahead. In terms of like what's going to happen, second guess yourself, worry about things you can't control. You know, looking after your money, because you know, putting a small portion away that you ain't going to miss, that you're only going to probably waste, is not an issue. And I just wanted to make sure that I had things in place. And my dad always told me, you know, basically from the age of 17, when I first turned up to Wasps, I was preparing for life after rugby. And I've always maintained that mindset. So when I retired, while emotionally it was a shock, while, you know, physically I wanted to go to World Cup, well, you know, a year later, it was a year yesterday I retired, actually. I didn't know this until I read on the other social media, and I posted something on Instagram about it. You know, it's taken me time to adapt, and I've had highs and lows. I've still lived, you know, I've done a lot of stuff, and it hasn't been that much of a painful transition. I basically went from what am I going to do to being busier than I've ever been. Now, obviously, lockdown, there's kind of a bit of a reset. So, you know, I was speaking probably three times a week, you know. One would be for UBS for mental health. The next would be at Gloucestershire Rugby Club. The next would be, you know, at a corporate lawyers dinner in Birmingham. You know, then I'd be DJing on a Friday night, Saturday night. You know, Sunday I'd fly to somewhere, do an advert. It was a really fun kind of lifestyle. So I don't know what's going to happen the other side of it. But I think, well, even though my parents have always pushed me, you know, they haven't always been the best with money, and I just don't want to have that stress of waking up one day if I get to 50, 60. Not knowing that I've been sort of frivolous with my money.
Yeah. Most people don't have that mentality, though. That, you know, you look at the figures in the UK, there isn't a lot that will think of that, even in the 30s and 40s, never mind their 19s. So that seems to be a kind of a real mental toughness that's instilled from the rugby. And, you know, it was almost to say then, we have a bad day in the office or a bad day in the home office or whatever it is, nobody gets to see it. You have a bad day when you're playing. It could be 40,000 people that see that. Was there a mindset that you had that you were able to park the bad day? And do you think that mindset then has you've taken that mindset or that toughness and all the stuff that you've learned to help you in the next chapters in life?
Yes, I think, look, men aren't very good at communicating their emotions, and always, you know, a lot of people say, "How are you?" We say, "Fine, fine, fine." Look, you know, I've always worked with a sports psychologist to overcome, you know, confident issues in my own ability and self-confidence stuff, and you know, I look, you know, if I had bad days or people wrote stuff about me online, you know, it would affect me. Was I able to bounce back? Yes. Was it a constant thing that I had to work on? Yes. The way I dealt with it was to always put the extra work in, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes after training, hour after training, to work on the core skills. So I knew that I ticked off everything that I could possibly do, because there's a lot of people in life, in business, complaining with their situation, complaining with what they are. And if you sat them down and said, and they were prepared to have a conversation, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And the answer to any of those questions is no, I'm not. Then it's yourself. You're the one to blame. And that's the harsh reality. it's very easy to say my boss doesn't like me. I can't get work. I never get the good deals. No one's listening to me. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, are you reading around your subject? Are you upskilling yourself? Are you networking? Are you putting in the extra work? Are you prepared to sacrifice? Are you turning up on time? Are you playing the political game? If the answer to any of those questions is no, then you are at fault. And I wanted to make sure that I eradicated that. It's made me very tough love in terms of, because men are much more practical in fixing problems than women. You talk to psychologists about it. The constant thing you have is that women say, I have a problem. You sit down, you want to have emotional, you want to talk about that problem. You don't necessarily want to fix that problem. You want to sit in that problem and feel it and different things. Men are, right, what's the problem? Okay, let's fix it. Here's how to fix it. Here's how to do it. So obviously when you meet two people, like my wife's very emotional, very compassionate. I was very much tough love. She's taught me to be a lot more compassionate, a lot more understanding. And I've taught her to be a bit more, hard-edged on certain things because, I try to be practical, and that has helped me, so for my DJ, I played, the last gig I did was for 5,000 people, me headlining, absolutely loved it. I still see a DJ tutor like once a week to try to get better. I'm still doing online courses because I want to get better. Public speaking, I still record it. I still get feedback, and my wife watches everything I do. I ask her to feedback. I can take the criticism, however hard it is, but it's very important. And I think those lessons of what I've taken in, it's the extra work you put in. Yeah. It's the development around your work is never done. You're never fulfilled. As soon as you think you're done, you can't get any better, you're screwed. Yeah. And it's meant that I'm able to deal with those, to deal with problems and setbacks, but it is still very hard. People say, I don't care what people say. Listen, if you hear, I'll give you an example that I did another podcast that I read and I was talked about it on that was, a maths teacher put put a 9 times table on the board, right? And the first, she wrote the whole connotations of it. And she wrote 9 times 1 and she put equals 7. And then, 2 9s are 18 and went through. All the class started laughing at her, right? And she stopped and she said, I know why you're all laughing, but I put the first answer wrong on purpose to teach you all the lesson. They were like, why? I said, it was because I got every other answer right. And you guys didn't applaud me for doing that. The only thing you could focus on was the one mistake I made. And that is a lesson for life, that everybody will always, it doesn't matter how much good you do, everybody will cling on to that one negative thing. And you as a person will chastise yourself. It's the same thing when you say, how many times you tell people so-and-so is brilliant, but if there's a bit of a gossip, so-and-so shagged somebody, so you're straight on the blower and you're having that conversation. Yeah. That's the way we work. And I think once you dissect human psychology and understand that, if you've got 50 good comments saying you're a great rugby player, you got this, and some bloke goes, you're shit, mate. The only one you think is shit, mate. And I've had to work my whole life to deal with that. And sometimes it rattles me and it's just something you have to deal with. And it's the same thing in business. I had a situation where I had a bit of a turning point in my career where a friend of mine, a guy called Travis, I was watching games with him. He was a Kiwi, he was a mate of mine. So being a Kiwi, he was absolute rugby keno. Had played rugby at school, hadn't played for the All Blacks, but knew what he was talking about. So he sat me down once and said, well, can I go through a video with you, watch my game? And he started dissecting my game. And it was the hardest thing to hear, because part of me my ego wanted to say, who the fuck are you? But I sat there and do you know what? I went away and my dad taught me something early on. He said, you can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to yourself. And I honestly, however hard it was, knew exactly what this guy was saying was right, that he dissected my game properly, that he'd identified my weaknesses, that I was playing with inside myself. I was scared of trying to get the ball. I was trying to do this. So I went back to him and said, right, do you know what? Ego to one side, you're exactly right. How do we go and work on it? And it changed the way I played and led to me playing some of the best rugby I'd ever played for England. But it's very hard, especially with an ego the size of mine, to be able to take that, and for most men to hear that you're wrong.
Oh yeah, I think it's huge, and such a good point there. I think the day you think you need to stop learning is the day you start to fail. Absolutely. We're massively I think last week did we book on 2 new courses, I think, which have now gone online. We're actually doing a mental health first aid course as well. So I think that's just a big thing now.
Oh, mate, it's massive. Look, the mental health thing is massive, especially in men.
Huge.
I think globally, it's always really hard, because when you see something that you see a thing of Donald Trump and apparently what he said, you have to Google it to make sure he actually said it, because there's so much fake news. People just attribute stuff to people all the time. So I was hearing a statistic that essentially it was something like in the world at the moment, something like every 30 seconds or every 50 seconds, somebody's, committing suicide, and that's going to potentially go down to every 20 seconds. That's going to happen. And, men are, it's a massive killer of men, I think at the age of 30 to 50 are committing suicide. And in this time, if you have a routine normally and you're busy, the voices in your head, you're busy. You don't have that. If you have problems in your relationship, the constant, like a shark. If a shark stops moving, it dies. If people don't want to confront their problems, just keep moving. Yeah. That's what my wife said to me. She goes, "You're so busy. Do you ever? You haven't stopped once to consider your retirement?" And I was like, "No, just carry on. But the problem is, you have to then sit down and talk about it sometimes. And I think the mental health situation, this is massively important. So anyone watching this video, if you're struggling, and just pick up the phone even if you're scared and you a lot of people think with mental health, when you reach out to a therapist or a psychologist or someone, you've got to start crying, you've got to reveal your deepest problems, or if you don't have something, you think like I haven't got something tragic that's happened to me, I don't deserve to feel like this. That's not the case. If you're scared to that, pick up the phone to a friend, text someone and say, I need help, I am struggling. Because we're all doing it, and everybody pretends that they're not, especially men. And I think the mental health in this is so important. And there are so many people that just need to have a word. And sometimes just a phone call or a check-in from a mate or a missus or whatever it was can make just a world of difference. Especially
during this time, because, as you say, you have so much downtime at the moment that things can get into your head. You're having a bad day. It's not going well. It's not the norm. Things are going wrong. But then you go back to, if a sports person has a psychologist, they're forward thinking, and they're getting that 1% extra against the other team. But if the normal Joe public goes to see somebody like that, there's something wrong with them. So,
but I say that there's a lot of sports people. So this is my massive bugbear. That a lot of sports people don't use psychologists. A lot of people don't do it. It's like the biggest black hole in sports that's left to be fulfilled. It's so we spend all this money on trainers and equipment and GPS and nutritionists and food and special surfaces and video equipment and analysis and extra coaches. The one thing we never do is look at the brain. And I probably know. I don't know, it might change now, but we had team psychologists that I never really saw have much of an impact on a team ever, with England, with everything else. They saw some players and had some benefit, but I say for the most part, you could count on one hand in a squad of players the people who were reaching out to talking about their performance, the bits and pieces, the elements of striving for better performance, developing the mind and dealing with loss and dealing with winning and dealing with public eye and pressure, but also your own personal problems. And I think that's, I think it's, I'm just shocked that it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I think it's one of those big things, isn't it? People, because it's not a tangible thing, mental health, is it? People sometimes don't kind of believe in it. When you've pulled a hamstring or something like that, you've got to go and see the physio or whatever. But with the mental health thing, I think people just don't bind it. They just don't see it, do they?
Yeah, it's intangible. But I saw the benefits of it. Even as simple as. So I'll give you an example. So back in the day when you played 8 games a season, you could play them on emotion. It's very easy to get up for 8 games a season. Yeah. But now when it's 30, 40 games a season, it's very hard for you to do that. So, how do you, when you're traveling to an away game, it's a long bus journey, your back's hurting, you've had an argument with your wife, the food shit, the hotel room shit, you've lost, your performance not going on. How do you then switch in for that game? Well, it's process. It's always process driven. How do you get those elements in place? So I work very hard, at trying to build a platform to make sure that every time I turn up to a game, I was in the same mindset. So I use music as a tool. So whatever's happening in my life, by the end of, by middle to end of my career, as soon as I put my headphones on, I was in. I had a sheet of notes, or on my phone, a couple of notes. That's what I was going to do. And it doesn't matter what had happened, I could focus in on that. And that was a tool I learned with a psychologist, dealing with it, consistently reminding, putting those behaviors in place to be able to action it. And that was tangible. That meant that, when you're waking up on Christmas morning in Japan, in a hotel, and you've got rice, miso soup and natto beans for breakfast on Christmas Day, they're not even celebrating it, you're away from your family. How do you get your mind up to go and play against another team and play well? Well, music, notes, professionalism, switching in, and that's what you learn. And that was taught to me by a psychologist. Some people have it naturally, but that's important. How do you deal with consistent loss in business? I'll get overlooked every time for a promotion. Nobody takes me seriously. Well, who do you talk to about that? How do you deal with it? What are the things? What tools can you do to have the confidence? Every time I speak in front of a room, I shit myself. I get very nervous. I don't know what to do. Well, let's put a process in to be able to deal with that. How are you doing it? How are you writing it? What are you practicing your speech? Are you doing it? All these little things that a psychologist can help you.
Yeah, and then you leave all of that rugby stuff and all of the contact sport, have a nice life, and then you decide, I'm going to jump into a cage and start fighting people. There has to be some real mental toughness there to go, well, I'm going to do this. And
I think it's stupidity, I would say, or the overarching factor on that. I think it's it was interesting. I think it came along probably at exactly the right time, and I was looking for something else to do, looking for something to really help. I'd never played golf. I always chose shooting over golf. I just decided that I couldn't do all the extra training I did. Go and do like wrestling, extra sprint work, all this other stuff, and then go and try and do bloody golf as well, walk around a golf course. So I basically sacked it off, and I decided to just do shooting instead. And then the cage fighting came about because I wanted to have something competitive, something challenging, and it ultimately meant that this came about. And then halfway through the training, where you're kind of emotionally tested, physically tested, turning up and having to punch someone in the head, get punched in the head. Mm-hmm. The attritional nature of the training, it was a bit of I probably just stuck to DJing, probably.
Is the fitness level any different to rugby or to totally different?
Mad. No. I mean, it's such a high demand. It's so mental. It's like really, really physical. It's like it's just one of the toughest things I've ever done. It's it's way harder than rugby. It's every day is a peaking day. The demands on your body, 2 sessions a day sometimes, burning 2 hours, 2,500 calories, maybe more. Shattered, and then going again the next day, and there's no let off. Even if you're just wrestling and doing a bit of like technique stuff, it's hard. And then you've got to bring the sparring element into it, and then the adrenaline. The fact that, look, I've never professed to be a particularly tough guy. I think there are some sort of diehard nutters out there who absolutely love a tear up. It's in their DNA. But getting hit, or the fear of getting hit, and vice versa, it's again, it's another test for you.
Yeah, because you've gone from a sport where there's a chance you're going to get hit. It's not like football or something. You're potentially going to get hit once or twice in the game, to going into an octagon knowing there's going to be pain. That's tough. That
is tough. Like things with sparring. And also just the vulnerability of A, of the body, but B, of the situations. And C, doing stuff with really competent people, how exposed you feel. I'm doing some ground and pound work with Carlos Vermola, who's been in the UFC, in Bellator. You suddenly you're trying to stop him hitting you as you're on your back, and you just feel that vulnerability, and you're going to have to take shots. You're going to get hit in the nose, get in the face. It's but also when it comes to fight time, I think you have that emotional adrenaline because you want to fill the bloke in. On a Monday morning, and with a bloke that you train with all the time that you quite like. It's quite hard to do that. But these guys just ruthless. They just don't. It just comes down. They fill each other in, and then the shutters go back up again, and they're happy. It's a little bit. I'm used to peaking once a week.
Yes, it's interesting. You were due to fight 16th for you.
May the 16th it was. Yeah. So I've heard nothing from anybody about anything. I'm just training every day. I'm putting myself in holes. I'm lucky I've got a watt bike and a Versa climber in the garage, two of the rankest piece of cardio equipment.
They don't hit you back though.
Pardon?
They don't hit you back. The watt bike never hits you back.
Doesn't hit you back. My wife hits me back actually, but I've actually just ordered a punch bag. I sort of avoid it. I've ordered one of those aqua bags. Because I tore my pec before I went in, before I got into lockdown, and nobody really knew about it. And I tore it quite badly. I thought I was going to have surgery, but I didn't. So it's taken me this long to rehab it. So I'm now back into punching stuff. So the fight, potentially could have been in question anyway, if I'm completely honest with you.
Right.
I mean, I'm probably admitting too much now, but it was pretty. it was pretty sore. I've never torn a muscle, and to feel a muscle go, like I was in the middle of wrestling, and to feel it like tear like paper, I was just like this. I did it, and I leant on it. I just leant into someone. It just tore, and I was like, I've never had it before, and I'd done that move about 4 or 5 times. So it was the most innocuous thing, and that was a bit of a wake up call to me. Like, oh God! And I could see my wife, who didn't want me to do it in the first place, thought I was a dickhead for trying it. Was very much like, I basically she does a lot of "I told you so's." Like that should be a new nickname. I told you so. I told you so.
I'm expecting just this hand to come from around the camera.
I can see it. I'm sitting opposite her. I can see a little head in the other room.
Hand just going to come across and whack at the back of the head.
Yeah. Every now and then I just see this like little look up, and she's like,
brilliant.
And then the easier thing is the DJing.
Oh, the DJ is my favourite thing. I've got a house music show on iTunes and on Mixcloud called Back Row Radio. I've done some collaborations with Defected Records called Back Row Beats, and and I absolutely love it. I've been trying doing 2 live streams a week at the moment. I played out the whole time. Before I was been DJing out for about the last 5 years, and it's all I want to do. So my ideal week would be, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday speaking, Thursday speaking gigs, Friday, Saturday, Sunday DJing anywhere in the world. I'm doing some music production stuff. I'm making a track with a good producer at the moment, and that's what I want to do. If I could DJ around the world, I would have no problem. I'd get everything else and do that. My wife, unfortunately, is a 90s hip hop girl. I'm very much into house music. So, we have a bit of a butting of heads, but she likes some of it. And also because she's such a ride or die woman, she kind of goes along with it. Anyway, but she refuses to be my booth dancer. She won't do that for me.
Brilliant.
I was going to say celebrity stuff of.
Yeah, we'll touch on the jungle a bit because it's a big thing. It was probably one of the first reality things I actually watched, and I didn't end up watching it because my daughter was born partway through it. I get this terrible now. 26th of November, 23rd, 26th. She was born, so I still haven't watched the last bit of it.
Well, I wasn't in it the last bit of it, so you're probably right. I lasted 19 days. I came out 7th or something like that, or whatever it was. I came out 4th person out. Look, I think I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it was a privilege to be involved in a show like that. I think 40 million viewers to be on that level, and for the most part, it went unbelievably well. I had one day where, hungry, not hungry, I still, would have said and spoken like I did because, I can't abide faffing around. Everybody deserves an opinion. But unfortunately, in the real world, you always see it on TV shows and everything else. People who watch I'm a Celebrity, there's die-hard people who believe everything they see on TV. These people will turn up, rain or shine, and they live and breathe everything, and they want to be, I'd never watched any of it. For me, it was fun. It was very calculated in terms of business mindset, put myself on a different platform, and just be myself and get on with it. I was able to be myself, and that came across really well. There was a day where people were faffing around, and I'm one of these people. We've been talking around this issue for now 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Let's make a decision. But on TV, that doesn't translate well. Everybody wants to be like, who put you in charge? Everyone's entitled to have their opinion. In business and in life, right? If nobody made a decision, you'd never leave the house, you'd never get a business deal and everything else. But where it's edited on TV, it can come across like that. What saved me was the amazing reaction to my campmates when I left, because basically, I didn't realise there's been a storm out here. James a bully. Apparently chivalry's not letting a woman go first. It's letting a woman decide where she goes. All this shit, right? They're just normal people. Because look, it's 2020. Everyone's default position is I'm offended, change my mind. I'm not changing for anybody or anything. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know what common sense dictates. Could not have been more nice, more supportive, more caring. We had some unbelievably good positive conversations in there that didn't get played on TV about gender, about mental health, about sexuality, about men and women. Didn't get played. It got removed for the common denominator stuff that you have to fit 24 hours into an hour. TV pushes. They push the people they want to push, and they create a narrative around who they want to create, what's going to get the most vote, what's going to make the most money. People don't realise that. Everyone thinks that that's just how it is.
And for 23 hours a day, 23 hours and 57 minutes a day, and James Haskell sleeps in the jungle, and he wakes up for 3 minutes and he says something that is totally incorrect or wrong, that's all they're going to put through, isn't it? Because
of course.
there has to be ratings. So there has to be a storyline, even though it is real. There has to be a type of.
Of course there is. Yeah. I mean, I was apparently, for 2 weeks, absolute flavour of the month. Couldn't have done more. Yeah. Adele came out. Andrew came out, said I should have won it. I didn't even know you could win it, actually, when I first got in there. I didn't know there was a Queen of the Jungle, which was a shock. If I'd known, I would have been super competitive. And then Cliff went out, and he said something about me really nice. But then I had that day, and they just buried me in an edit. They buried me in an edit. They buried 100%. Me. They buried me saying to Andy about, constantly asking about the food he'd missed out on, which was bumming other people out. So I did what was a greater good, but that doesn't come across well. Kate wanting to debate undebatable question because, quote unquote, she's got all the time in the world. It's just, I can't listen to people talking about stuff that doesn't make any sense. It's bollocks. There's enough of that going on where people were talking about, political views and everything else that I was dodging like left, right, and centre. But then when I came out, the fact that Caitlin, Jacqueline, and Roman all cried, Ian, everybody said that was the most important thing to me. And what did the best for me was the same thing in rugby. Lots of people in the public don't like me. Lots of people, I divide opinion. But I played around the world and I stay in touch with all my teammates and all of them to a man. And the funny thing is they all come on House of Rugby, my podcast, and say, we thought James Haskell was a dick. I thought I was going to have to knock him out the first time I saw him. But then we turned out to be best of friends and he's an ultimate team man. And that's what I did. I was the ultimate camp man in that jungle. And it reflected. And the fact that Anton Deck said, we've never seen someone, a reaction like that to someone leaving was the most touching. It made me cry like a baby. I watched it. I've never... I'm not a massive crier. There's nothing wrong with crying, but I'm just not a massive crier. But I cried when I came off, and the next day when I watched it, I just burst into tears and couldn't believe it because, if that hadn't happened, that could have ruined me. I wouldn't have let it ruin me, but it could have done. You know what I mean? You're bully, you're this, you're that, angry. That's how easy it is. And no wonder these people that weren't in the public eye beforehand, who do Love Island, all these people who come out into the real world and end up killing themselves or get into trouble because they're just not equipped. Like I had 18 and a half years of dealing with fans, media and people. So an extra set of fucking people hating me wasn't really a problem. It was just but when you're that 14 million people, that's taken up a whole different notch. What I will say, it's not changed my life in any way. Other than I'm known for that now than I won from rugby. And that everybody who comes up to me in the street who watched I'm a Celebrity is unbelievably polite and nice and supportive compared to sports fans who come up and say things like, mate, I used to think you were a bit of a prick, but since I watched you play for England and seen your interviews, I really liked you. Whereas I'm a Celeb, people come and go, I thought you were brilliant and I'm a Celeb. I thought you should have won. You're incredible. Yeah, them wasting their time talking about that. But to a man, not one person's gone all angry or whatever. I've never had that. So that has been an eye opener. But has it made me a millionaire? No. Am I any better off? No. Did I do 86 appearances in nightclubs? No. Maybe because I've got crap agents. But apart from that, it's not really done anything.
Yeah, but it just shows. If go back to earlier about the pension thing, James Haskell as a businessman has been forward thinking from a very early age. I'll put my hand up earlier on about he was a guy that played for England with this red hat on him. Did I like him? Did I? Hell, I thought all bad things about him. Why? Because he was a good player and he used to beat us in the rugby. And you don't see anything else other than this aggressive player. Then he does these podcasts and he goes on the Celebrity and you realise that he's actually a human. He has a personality. He's actually funny, caring, kind, considerate. Yeah. And you, as you said earlier on, you alluded to it, it was a business thing. And previous to that, you may have been famous with a circle of people, X amount of tens of thousands, but predominantly it was through sport, and there may have been the odd few others. But now you're, as you say, there's more of a global audience in the millions because they know this person through this. So from a forward-thinking business point of view, can totally get it why you've done that, and you put yourself out there as you would a business person into something that was uncomfortable to do something for the good of your future self. Brilliant.
It's for me. It's all the Ricky Gervais very aptly put in. I don't know whether he was talking about it on. So either he said it in a show, or he said it in an interview, or he said it in one of his stand-ups. But essentially, if your driving factor is fame, right? He said, just go and kill a whole load of prostitutes because you'll be famous. But that's not the kind of fame that anybody wants. I didn't want to go on I'm a Celebrity to be famous. I wanted to put myself in the best possible position to utilize and maximize all the things that I actually enjoyed doing. Yeah. And I never lost sight of that. And I've never lost sight of anything. I put myself out on social media and I put myself out there, but in a very calculated way. It's, even if it looks like drivel, sounds like bollocks, it's calculated bollocks because, the social media is a tool to be used for business and for personal PR. Any other reason, you're just inviting a load of people that you wouldn't even let in your front garden into your life. And I think people have lost sight of that. People forget that, I'm sharing, I'm insightful. It's for education, bringing people closer, business, and everything else. If you're doing it for none of those other reasons, you're literally just inviting and living for other people's likes and opinions. No. You've lost the plot, and it's a surefire way of no point. I want to make money. I want to be successful. I want to be able to, take my wife out to dinner and not panic about the bill. And that's it. And that's all the goal's ever been. I don't want to be overly extravagant. But listen, I'd love to have 100 mil. I haven't quite figured out yet how I'm going to get there. But that would be a nice plan. But there's always someone more wealthy, always someone better looking. So just stay in your lane. And as long as you've got attainable goals, that's what matters.
Yeah. No, that's good. We'll just quickly touch on the podcast and everything you've got on and YouTube. You've got Joe Rugby, haven't you, which is great. I love that show. And you've started your own YouTube, haven't you, at home? Lockdown.
Yeah. So basically, I had my YouTube channel for a while, and the secret to social media and all this kind of stuff is consistency. Integrity of what you're delivering, and actually a very same message. My problem has always been that when you ask me on the show, what am I? Am I cage fighting, public speaking, DJing, Rex rugby player? It's a whole load of stuff, and it doesn't always make sense. And I'm very aware of that. And people say you do too much, or you spread yourself too thin. And in business, doing 2 things really well versus 10 things very badly is not constructive. So, the YouTube channel has always been under different guises. I just use it as a content dumping platform. Locked Up was a way of me actually feeling like I could do something, enjoy something, share with people. So I started that series. I've probably got about 8 or 9 videos. I just try and edit one every day, but they're a bit behind. The podcast stuff with House of Rugby is it's been incredibly successful. It's one of those bizarre situations that has just come about with. They asked me to do it. They asked James Hamilton, I think, to do it before, or Jim Hamilton to do it for me. He couldn't do it. They came to me second. Alex Payne kind of asked for me. They were a bit there. I wasn't sure whether I could do it while I was still playing. It was a massive commitment. Every Tuesday night driving down to London. I live in Northampton. But, the first episode broke all of their goals for the whole year. So we knew we were onto something good. And it's just spiraled out to the thing where we've had over, something 60 million minutes and stuff viewed and listened to. We've had 11, 12 million subscribers and stuff, so downloads. It's blown out of all proportion, and people really like it because it's there's plenty of people who do really rugby specific stuff. There's plenty of people who do the real aggressive take the mix stuff. Ours is about personalities, about story, and every episode is an emotional roller coaster with different things, whether it's a tearjerker, whether it's hysterical laughter, whether it's showing other people what it's a different side to somebody, whether it's putting a message across, whether it's us being quite forthright. And I absolutely love it. It's done me a world of good because it's shown people that I'm not as perceive me. Yes, people watching this video will know. If you tune in at any 5 minutes, I'll be talking, and that I
there'll be a lot of editing.
I speak quite quickly, and there's lots of stuff to be discussed, but it seems to work very well. We seem to get the best out of people who come on, and I absolutely adore it. And I think we could have done way more, and we want to do way more with it. I think we've been a little bit inhibited by certain things, but we did our very first live show, proper live show, ticketed event at the about just over in Wales actually, the depot, in Wales. 1,600 people, sold out in an hour and a half. Absolutely brought the house down. But half the content had to be edited out because we had to do 2 Jonathan Davies on, and Jiffy went completely mad.
Jiffy, literally, how much did Jiffy have to drink before that?
But no, I don't know, but it was amazing. He was brilliant because when I used to skate close to the line because I'm not that arsed. Getting upset. Even here, I was like, it's very good. I was like, sorry, you've just got a producer's like, that's all got to go. So we've had some great people, and it's my wife again, really. You know, she's a constant theme. I'm very lucky to have her because she listens to this stuff. She feedbacks, talks about it, and says, you know, about the things, and kind of gives me stuff to improve on. And it's something that's added real value. And sometimes you get head up your own arse and you want to do more. But every week we tune in. We had Ben Youngs on this week, and
I've still got to listen to that one actually.
Yeah, and just very interesting and very funny, and there's just so many stories, and you can tell stories without throwing people under the bus. But also, you know, some people are going to get offended. But if it happened, it happened. You can't deny it.
No, and it's a good. I think is a good dynamic with Alex Payne and Mike Tyndall in there as well. You know, like Alex is brilliant in fairness.
Oh, he's incredible. Like I had something again. You know what we were talking about. What Shane was saying is that again, the judge of the book by its cover is that who was listening to? Yeah, so. Obviously, in the media, you know, you've got very different, diverse political views, and I was a big maintainer. If you're northern in sport, or in life, you're afforded a bit more of a relaxing and a bit more respect than being from the south. I never noticed it, but until when I was playing, you had, you know, if I walk into a room and I go, right, chaps, in a massive game today, let's go, you know, and we're gonna have to train really hard and do it. If you come in and go, right, lads, I'm not being funny, but we fucking need to go real hard today. We've got, you know, everyone goes, oh my God, let's go. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Daily Mail and online. You put like a woman from the south and she's on there and they're like, oh, spoilt brat. Northern, oh, salt of the earth, down, what a lovely lass she is. And it's just, you see it all the time. So when we had this media thing, I saw these kind of hard and northern guys, media journalists. I'd obviously look down their nose at Alex because he's the epitome of public schoolboy. He couldn't speak. He's like little Lord Fauntleroy. But he is one of the most polished professional broadcasters going. He absolutely steers that ship incredibly well. He's so intelligent and funny in his own right, and he understands how to work the dynamic. And he's absolutely brilliant. And I think without him, the show would sink. And then you have Mike, who I love, who actually he comes to the fore even more so in live shows. He grows with the audience. But in his normal thing, you know, he speaks his mind, which is great. He's not about he doesn't mind courting controversy. He doesn't need the podcast, but he wants to do the podcast. He loves it. He's honest, and we each add our different element, and it's kind of almost the perfect storm where, you know, Tins will go break for a week, and then we'll fly in another guest. You have that variety, and then we come back in again, and I absolutely adore it.
Yeah, I did. There's been some great ones. Like I used to listen to them in the car as well, and I'd be parked at lights, just giggling to myself, and people must have just looked at me thinking, "What is he listening to?"
If you do that,
like the Team Binju stuff and all that, and it's kind
of if you're on the tube though, people say it all the time that they're like this on the tube, holding their phones, right, and they're like this, and they laugh, and they see someone laughing, and they turn it round, and it's House of Rugby, and they're both like that. So which is what we love, because I listen to an amazing podcast you've never listened to called My Dad Wrote a Porno, which is the funniest thing in the universe, and they got me on the footnotes, and it's one of the things that I was most well known for, the footnotes appearance, and also I was in hysterics the whole time listening to that, and that's what I wanted to create, and that's what I always do, and half the stupid stuff I've ever done is all around trying to make people laugh, trying to have a bit of fun, even just the story, just so I could sit at the back of a bus and go, lads, I did this. You won't believe this happened, and that happened, and she said that, and this, and that's always been my motto to life, you know.
But you know what? The one you brought out yesterday, I'm conscious of time now. With Ben Youngs, I listened to a lot of that yesterday. That was a tearjerker, and it was surprising. Made you stop talking for quite a while. I looked at it and you were just there, and I was like, wow, and the stuff he came out with, and having to dissect a situation as a sports person and put family in front of there. I don't know how the man did it. And this is before, you know, lockdown and all of this, where we all know family is important and the priority now. But for that to happen back then, and to dissect it and talk to Geordie Murphy and say, oh, I was there already with all of my friends and I've done that, now is the time to be here. That was you might talk about having a bit of fun and stuff like that. That was a bit different to the norm, that one. That was good.
I find a lot of the time I sit back and don't, you know, we always end up chiming in with something, but a lot of them I sit back and just talk and hear, you know. And some people, you know, like when it's just Sean O'Brien, we bounce off each other quite well. You know, when we've had Benjamin Kayser on, I'm sitting there just open mouth listening. You have Ben Ryan on, you know, and he's got tears in his eyes. Because people do say, oh, look, you know, the joke, the constant theme is, oh, fucking hell, they've made James shut up. It's like, I'm, you know, I think when you first start doing this stuff, you've always got something to say. But actually, the whole point is guests. It's about getting the best out of them. So I just sit and just enthralled, and because I knew firsthand, but I couldn't rationalize in my mind how I would, if my brother had a wife, how I would decide not to do something which was the pinnacle of my career, and could I do it, and would you do it, and what would you do if you didn't do it, and and maybe if I said, do you know what, I'm going to go anyway, does that make you a bad person? It's so because it made me think. All this stuff makes me think, and I'm not sure what. I mean, I won't give you what my answer was, but if my wife, she goes, "You're a cold-hearted bastard," you definitely go. You definitely go.
It was an eye opener. It was totally different to what you're used to listening to, and it was like, wow, that was from the heart, and you could see everyone kind of. But sometimes you have to have some things like that in it to just show that you all have a heart, and it's not just all comical stuff. Lastly, what is the future for James Haskell? What, anything in the pipeline that we can be told of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a book coming out. I can't tell you any more than that. That's going to be quite fun at some point, which I'm just doing at the moment. A lot more DJing stuff. I'm kind of doing, hopefully going to be doing a lot more live streams on my YouTube channel and on kind of Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, the fighting stuff, I'm unsure as to what's going to happen with that. And that's it. That's as much as I've got going on at the moment. I think I'm hopefully going to release this house music track as well once we finish off on that. But other than that, lads, that's pretty much about it, really. I'm just going to keep myself very busy, like the shark, never stopping, but not sure where I'm going or what I'm doing.
Cracking.
Superb. Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks for your time, James.
Much appreciated.
Great. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Well, that was a great chat with James. So what have we learned today? Structure, again, is key to professional sport and can be pulled through to business. Don't be scared or feel ashamed to get help with mental health. James is an advocate of sports psychology, not just how it helps in sport, but in general life. Take feedback on board. It helps to develop you, and don't be afraid to admit you need help. And let's be nice to people. Remember that. There's a lot of takeaways from today's show, and I hope you enjoyed it. Head over to our website, www.sanfp.co.uk, or check out our podcast on all the major channels. Just need to search Sanctuary Financial Planning or Building Business Resilience. That's it for this episode. Next, we're talking all things marketing with Laura Janes. Please don't forget to like, click subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get all the latest episodes as soon as they arrive. Until next time, thanks for watching.